Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Jim Ninsel, host of AZ Illustrated Politics, our weekly analysis and commentary on local, state, and national affairs. On tonight's show, we'll talk with Tucson Mayor Jonathan Rothschild about the city's recent changes in the enforcement of SB 1070 and the plans for the future of Broadway Boulevard. Then we'll talk with Pima County Supervisor Carroll about the future of Rosemont Mine and the decision to take down speed cams on county roads. That's all coming up on AZ Illustrated Politics. The Tucson City Council voted earlier this month to change some policies and practices in the enforcement of SB 1070, Arizona's controversial immigration law. Tucson Mayor Jonathan Rothschild joins me in the studio to talk about those changes and other news from City Hall. Mayor Rothschild, thank you for being with us.
Jim, always a pleasure to be with you.
Let's talk about the SB 1070. You've changed certain policies and practices. You're asked police officers not to question minors without a parent or attorney present. You're saying don't impound cars from people necessarily. Don't don't question people about their immigration status if they're coming forward to report police misconduct. Why were these changes important?
Well, there's a couple of things, Jim. First of all, as you know, the city, the police chief have been against SB 1070 from the beginning. And we were against it, and the chief was against it just because it created these kind of difficult police situations where our police are between a rock and a hard place. Their principal mission is to go out and arrest people who are committing serious crimes, and serious crimes being property crimes, crimes of violence, and the like. So we don't change the SB 1070 law, and we're required to apply the law. But what we can do is give some direction to our officers. And the principal direction we were given is when we said, when you come to a crime scene, focus on the person who is the criminal or the alleged criminal. And with victims and witnesses, treat them as such, because one of the ill effects of SB 1070, according to our chief and our police, is that we're concerned that people who are victims of crimes or witnesses are not reporting. So we want to make that clear. Part of the other thing which we asked the police chief to do, and he's been doing some, and we just asked him to do more, was really get out to the community and explain the fact that if you do report in, for instance, a case where you believe that there's been a case of questionable police conduct, that you will, that we will stay on that subject and that we're not out there primarily looking for status offenses.
And the Democrats swept this year's election. You passed 2 ballot props that the city wanted to see get through. What lessons are you taking away from this month's election?
Well, it was really the margins of victory that were most interesting. Karen Ulick, who 4 years ago won against the same opponent by, I think, 200 or 300 votes. This year won by a 2-to-1 margin. Richard Fimbres won by a 2-to-1 margin. The ballot propositions won by 2-to-1 margins. And those were even more interesting to me because those were things that did not have lobbies. We could not go out and put money towards them. We could not really actively advocate for them, at least from a city employee perspective. And the fact that they passed by 2-to-1 margins says to me, I hope that the people of Tucson believe that in the last 2 years that the city has started to move in the right direction, that we're beginning to show some trust and confidence again in our city administration. And that's so important. If we're going to have a thriving city and a thriving region, in the thriving cities and the thriving regions I go to, people across the area, including all sorts of folks, have some confidence in their government. People can always be skeptical and should be somewhat skeptical, but this was really a vote of confidence.
And, the city is in the planning stages of widening Broadway from downtown to Country Club. The original plan was an 8-lane road. 2 of them would be dedicated to transit. The Councilman Kosachik has raised some concerns. He wants to see that perhaps go down to the footprint that exists or a bit wider than that. Pima County Administrator says Chuck Huckleberry says if you don't do at least 6 lanes, he's going to pull the county funds from this project. What are your thoughts about the future of this corridor? How wide should it be? What's your vision for the corridor?
First of all, I think Mr. Huckleberry, the administrator, was reacting to what he had heard from a particular meeting where some people had come forward and said, we want no widening at all. And from what I understand of the process so far, which has been a community-wide process with a great deal of input over much time, it looks like, and I'll wait for the final recommendation, but it looks like people are good with 6 lanes. They're good with, not the 8 lane. They're good with assuring some form of future mass transit, which is important, whether that be bus lanes, whether that be bike lanes, whatever it may be. And I want to see really what the community input is. This is an important issue. The RTA, of which I sit on the board, and I'm currently the chairman of PAG, we have said to both the city and the county, because it's sort of a different organization, the regional organization that actually has the money and actually ultimately makes those decisions, have said, look, we look at functionality, okay? We want to make sure we're doing the right thing, and we want to make sure it's compatible with what the citizens want and what we need as a city. And I'm still confident we're going to get the right result and that both the county administrator and the people of the city will be happy.
I wrote a piece in the Tucson Weekly a few weeks ago about the city's photo radar program. The county is taking down its speed cameras. It sounds like the city's going to stick with the cameras at the red light intersections and the mobile vans. Your thoughts about this program?
Yeah, I saw one in the newspaper the other day where it looked like the county was putting one up. So I don't know for certain, but with regard to the city, I can tell you that what our experience has been, and it's just our factual experience, is that serious auto accidents have gone down by more than 50% where those cameras have been at. The fact of the matter is that we can take our police officers from sitting on a corner waiting for you to, do something, to put them to active law enforcement, and that's very important to us for many reasons. And the fact of the matter is also that when you get one of those tickets, and I don't know, Jim, whether you've had one, but you kind of get an instant replay. You get an opportunity to look at it on a film and see whether you violated the law or not. And quite honestly, I get lots of complaints about parking tickets and things like that. Very few on actual red light administration. And something you should know, you may probably already know, is that the ticket isn't just sent out automatically. The ticket is reviewed on a video by a live police officer. So, we think it's a good thing. We'll see where ultimately that goes. You
mentioned whether I got one. I did get one, Mr. Mayor, and the process server did not manage to catch up with me.
I would not say that on television.
It's past the deadline. Okay. One out of 4 people do dodge these tickets. Is that a problem, that 1 out of 4 people are able to avoid service?
Yeah, there is administration issues, and that might be one. The other one, quite frankly, and I'd like to see on the back end a better technology. And again, that costs money, and we have to look very carefully at all that these days. But there are certainly ways that we can improve the program. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But overall, when we're saving lives, when we're putting police to things that they ought to be doing, and when we're essentially giving a little more due process to folks with live evidence, film evidence, it's not a bad thing.
Speaking of police resources, the question came up about school resource officers in recent years, especially after the shooting at Sandy Hook last year. And the city has not been able to put school resource officers, it pulled them out because of budget reasons. Is that something the city should review, whether or not they can afford to put school resource officers back to work in our TUSD schools or Amphi schools?
Yeah, absolutely. The school resource officer program left some years ago, probably in 2007, 2008, when the city essentially cut 20% of its budget overall and 20% of its resources due to the economic downturn. When I ran for office, and as recently as a few months ago, I've been a big advocate for school resource officers in the schools. There's a couple reasons. The first is that school resource officers can serve as a model and example for students. They can also serve as eyes and ears for the community if they see a student that's coming to them seeing a problem, and to teachers. And so they're partly there for, a sort of a deterrent to bad guys, but more really as a community resource officer. Our city and our police chief has applied for federal grants for school resources officers, for 15 of them. We are in the first cut of that. We made the first round. And so I am still very hopeful that within the year to 2 years, we will have school resource officers back in our schools. I've got commitments from the governor that she would like to see that if we can get the federal money, and I've got commitments from the districts that, and so between the three of us, hopefully we'll be able to do that.
Your administration is working with the federal government on an initiative to end veterans' homelessness, and you've had some success in that arena.
Yeah, thank you, Jim, for asking about it. The president chose 25 cities to end veterans' homelessness, and Tucson was lucky enough to be one of them. I think we were chosen because we've had some success in the past. In the first 100 days of the program, we housed 223 veterans and their families. We're now in the second 100 days. We're on target to house another 225. We believe we need to house 1,650 over the course of the time period because people roll in and out of homelessness. We're dealing with a Vietnam vet population that is now getting in their 60s and 70s and wants to come home. We're dealing with an Iraqi and Afghanistani war veteran population. Brings different problems, and quite frankly, the idea is that we treat these new war vets differently than we treated the Vietnam War vets. We can use a little bit of help from the community. If you go to 51 Homes, Google it, you will see how to get resources. We need household goods and supplies. We need help with people just moving people in, and we need help with people being mentors to these people. And we've had a great community response, probably one of the best I've seen of many of our initiatives, and we can get that done.
Let's talk about the future of Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. There's some concern now that the A-10 may have its mission shortened as a result of the sequester. There's concerns about whether the F-35 is appropriate for our community. Your thoughts on what's going to happen here in the future with Davis-Monthan?
Well, the first thing we have to do, and I think all of us in this community agree, is that we've got to work as diligently as we can to keep Davis-Monthan here. I don't think there's any question about that. Keeping the A-10 is a big part of that, and quite frankly, if the sequester were to end, there would not be conversations in the Air Force anymore about the A-10. So from my perspective, I'm working to end the sequester. The A-10 fleet was just re-winged, so it's going to be with us for some time. But we also, as a community, need to look at every new technology that the Air Force is bringing to see if it is appropriate and compatible with our community. And we're starting to do that. The community is beginning to generate some force around that. The F-35 is really a mission that for our community is tied simply to the Air National Guard. It will fly over to Davis-Monthan every now and then, but it really isn't a component of Davis-Monthan. But if the F-16 will be here for a while, and I'm not sure how many F-35s will be built, but really the F-35 relates to the Air National Guard. But it is so important that we do everything we can to support DM, and we will.
And only a few seconds left here, about 30 seconds left, but the City Council reduced the number of City Council meetings. How's that working out?
It's working very well, and I think some of our council people were reluctant at first. I'm not sure why, but I'll tell you what it's done well for us. It's given staff more time to prepare. It's given council more time to look at the materials before a meeting and ask questions of staff so that they can come well prepared. We used to go every 3 weeks and take a week off, and I'll tell you quite frankly, Jim, at the end of 3 weeks, everybody was very tired. Everybody's very comfortable with this. In fact, we just had the way the holidays hit, we just had 2 meetings in a row, and people were like, why are we meeting 2 weeks in a row? Well, let's go, So it's working well, and I'm just hoping we get better results, better facts on the table through it, and so far, so good.
Well, all right. Thank you very much. And speaking of the holidays, I'd like to wish you a happy Hanukkah. And we will actually be right back with an interview with Pima County Supervisor Ray Carroll.
Arizona's ties to Mexico are geographically and culturally obvious. Economic ties seem obvious too, yet they're evolving in ways that may surprise.
For every good that comes across the U.S. border from Mexico, so quote unquote made in Mexico, 40 cents of every dollar, so 40% of that product was actually made in the United States by U.S. workers.
I guess it's too early to really see the impact we're having, if it's going to be monetary, if it's going to be jobs created, or amount of companies being here.
Crossing the border for business, later on Arizona Week.
Earlier this month, the Environmental Protection Agency expressed concern about Rosemont Copper's current plan to dig an open pit mine in the Santa Rita Mountains. EPA officials say the mine could cause substantial and unacceptable impact to the area's waterways. Joining me in the studio to talk about the future of the Rosemont Mine project and other county politics is Pima County Supervisor Ray Carroll. Supervisor, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jim.
You've been a longtime opponent of the Rosemont Mine, and this EPA letter has come out here recently saying that there are these problems. The Rosemont people say that this is no big deal. They're going to work their way through it. Your thoughts on how this is playing out?
Well, I first think that the EPA and, of course, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers have the responsibility to come forward with their scientific results. And it really does vindicate politicians like myself, who had to stand election against the Rosemont Copper smear campaign political wing that really tried to force people out of office that didn't agree with them and questioned, number one, the water resources. And in this desert, water is our most precious and valuable resource. And whether or not it was going to be on the Green Valley side of the Santa Ritas or the Elgin-Sonoyta side, the Vail and Corona de Tucson side, we knew the number one issue was water. At the very beginning, we went to Rosemont Copper and said, if you're trying to bring cap water down here to replace the potable drinking water that you're attempting to take from the Green Valley Upper Santa Cruz water table, then why don't you just directly connect the cap water to your mine site like ASARCO does in Green Valley, and we'll get past it. Well, that would be a first compromise of many that they could have agreed to, but instead they pushed back, and from that very beginning we knew that they were reckless when it came to the water resources, and I think we're vindicated by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and, of course, the Environmental Protection Agency. The letters back and forth are based on science. I don't think they're flawed. I do believe that the response from Rosemont, the number one thing in crisis response is to deliver facts. 100% verifiable facts, indisputable facts, and instead they've put out misleading responses, and in fact have said that the SEC should go after members of a nonprofit agency in town who actually just put out a press release that said, this is a letter and a correspondence that went back and forth that we've intercepted, and it did vindicate their position as well. I've been calling for an SEC investigation of Rosemont for years, and I wonder if it is going to come to play eventually. I think it needs to be.
Pima County Administrator Chuck Huckleberry has proposed lobbying the legislature to increase the gas tax by 10 cents a gallon in order to fund the county's transportation needs. You said you think this might be a good idea. Why do you like it?
Well, I'm a reluctant tax supporter. I'm a low tax Republican. I've won the Hero of the Taxpayer Award in the state of Arizona for having the very best record in all the state of all the elected officials on voting for tax issues. But Jim, I'm a low tax politician. I'm not a no tax politician. All this began when there is a sunset of the leaking underground storage tank, 1 penny, that's part of the HERF revenues, or the highway user revenue funds. That 1 cent on each and every gallon of gas was used to remediate leaking underground storage tanks across the state. They say that that problem's been fixed and that now it's time to sunset that. So the discussion started there. Can we extend that 1 penny for a little longer and try to recoup some of the monies that the legislature has swept from the state, all the counties, all 15 counties over the past decade? It's millions of dollars for southern Arizona. And I do believe that that was the beginning of the conversation. Then it evolved into, how about increasing the gas taxes up to 10 cents? If you look at the states around us, we're at least that far behind. We haven't raised our gas taxes for 20 years. In fact, the cost of construction for roadways has doubled, and the deferred maintenance continues to pile up. The cost of rebuilding a road versus pavement preservation and maintenance is astronomically a cost to the taxpayers that we shouldn't bear. I believe a small increase in gas taxes, incremental over a series of years, can only come through the legislature referring it to the ballot for the people to vote on. So it's not an automatic that there is going to be an increase. When you do go to the legislature, you need to cast a wide net. And I'm talking to all types of Republicans, business leaders, as well as Democrats, because it has to be a bipartisan coalition. And we're getting all types of ideas. Is it going to pass? No. But does it need to be discussed right now and maybe referred to a ballot? I think so. I think it's time.
What are the other options for transportation improvements in the county? You probably hear complaints all the time from people saying,
we do.
The roads are just in terrible shape.
You know, there's been many discussions about other revenue increases that we could seek, but I think the most expedient would be to increase a gas tax incrementally, as I said, up to 10 cents. I don't think that the legislature would approve that right off the bat, but I think it's going to take this coalition of the 15 counties, bipartisan coalition that says, let's refer it to the ballot. You even saw the city of Tucson voters approve Prop 409 last year because, like the rest of the state, the city of Tucson drivers are tired of spending more on the repair of the alignment and the tires of their vehicle than they would on the increase in a gas tax annually. So it seems to be something that's struck a responsive chord with the County Supervisors Association, with chambers of commerce across the state and across the nation. And we'll see how it flies with the legislature. It's a no-tax legislature. That's why I believe it's important for Republicans like myself to take a risk and to go up there and present it and say, look, we're not in favor of going after huge amounts of money. It is a big increase when you look at the percentage, but since it hasn't been done since '92, maybe it is time, and they might allow it to go to the legislature for a referral to the maybe 15 or 16 ballot question.
Speaking of the roads, the county speed cameras are coming down in the new year. You happy to see that happen?
Well, I've never been a supporter of the speed cameras. I always believed they were unconstitutional. You need to be able to face your accuser, and I think they were a corruption of law enforcement. When you have real officers on the road that pull people over for speeding, many times on top of that they catch maybe some liquor on the person's breath, or maybe some smell in the car, or maybe just a kind of a sense that there's some illegal business going on, contraband in the trunk. Gives an opportunity for the police to further investigate what could be a possible bad suspect. But cameras and the traffic slowing that they said they would produce, I think, was less about safety and more about just generating revenue. So I'm glad the county administrator and the board have orally stated that they are not going to renew the contract for the cameras. And I want you to know one thing, Jim. In all these years that traffic cameras have been in Pima County, there's never been a traffic camera in District 4 in Pima County, because I made a good case. I persuaded the board and the other transportation officials not to put them in District 4, and I was successful at that.
There have been some allegations made by your fellow supervisor, Ali Miller, regarding shakedowns of developers in Pima County, saying that they have to hire certain consultants in order to get their projects done. She said this via Facebook and talk radios. Is this sort of thing going on in the county?
Jim, I can assure you that if I had heard about it, I would have referred any evidence or referred any whistleblowers to the county attorney or the attorney general. In recent history, I have no knowledge, and I do believe that without the type of backup material, whether it be evidence or a whistleblower, as I said, a lot of the times you have to look at first-year politicians. Sometimes they're being taken advantage of by people with axes to grind. I'm not sure where the information came that she repeated. She has said it. Mr. Huckleberry has responded to it. And since that response, I've heard very little from Supervisor Miller about those claims. I do believe that working as a Pima County supervisor, your first year, there's a very big learning curve, and it's going to take that long to iron it out. And I hope she has a little more success with a batting average of success in the next year. I think that most newspapers and editors like yourself are going to do a review and commentary about her first year in office. and we'll see how you all feel about her success ratios.
You know, the Colossal Cave had a shooting of a mountain lion with some employees out there, and you've expressed some concern about what's going on out there at Colossal Cave. Your thoughts about how this whole mountain lion thing played out?
Well, I have great support for the Second Amendment to start off. It's bad for the Second Amendment to have poachers on a Pima County mountain park, especially under the subcontractor status that they had. It was a craven act. They baited a female mountain lion out of the mountain park into a parking lot with public citizens, with actually paying customers in the vicinity, and shot the mountain lion with a .22 rifle. Inhumane as that may seem, then they shot it with a shotgun. Now, these three men are going to stand in front of a judicial bench, a justice bench, on January 2nd. It's a public hearing, and I encourage people who are interested, like I am, to see the book thrown at these gentlemen, to attend. I think it'll be in the newspaper. I think it'll be highlighted that we, with the conservation ethic of Pima County supervisors, do not support anyone using our preserves and our mountain parks as public game preserves for their own craven use of what I think is an immoral act. And I'm hoping that there is change there. On a parallel course, we're also auditing the performance and finances of the Colossal Cave vendor, and we've got a very scientific group of auditors from all parts of Southern Arizona businesses as well as tourism groups to figure out how we can get the most out of our mountain park. But in the end, it was certainly an eye-opening experience, and frankly, there have been other claims that they have baited other types of animals trying to hunt big game, as I've said, on their own personal game preserve, which I find offensive to each and every taxpayer, each and every supporter of gun rights, and especially the hunters in this community and the hunters in this state who buy licenses to preserve the wildlife and the game and the wildlife corridors in Southern Arizona.
We've got about 30 seconds left, but speaking of firearms, the Tucson City Council voted to require background checks on all gun sales at shows held at the Tucson Convention Center. There's a push to do the same thing at gun sales at the Pima County Fairgrounds. Would you support such a thing?
First, that would be a decision made by the Southwest Fair Commission that runs the Pima County Fairs, but the county doesn't have the legislative authority to do gun background checks. The state and the federal governments are those that do that. 90% of the sales at Pima County Fair are by licensed gun dealers. They do have the regular background checks. The private sales are recorded. There's receipts, there's serial numbers taken. I've personally been to the gun shows. I've witnessed the ATF officers, the armed and uniformed sheriff deputies, and I'm sure there's no problem.
We're going to have to leave it there, but a happy holiday to you and your family.
Thank you.
And we will be right back with some closing thoughts. That's our show for today, but you can learn more about politics by visiting azpm.org or by following us on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Jim Ninsel. Thanks for watching another edition of AZ Illustrated Politics.